India has undoubtedly become the heat capital of the world, with top 19 of the 20 hottest cities belonging to India. Now today let us understand how events like El Nino and Super El Nino are going to affect this. Hello students, welcome to Drishti IAS. My name is Saloni Nandkyoliar. Let's get started. So there are predictions that this year a Super El Nino could develop, and this will send the global temperatures up and bring more extreme weather events. So right now India is under intense heat. There are intense heat waves. In fact, 19 of the 20 hottest cities of the world are in India only. So there are situations, it's an extreme heat situation right now, and then there is a prediction that a Super El Nino could develop, and this year, and in fact the next year, 2027 could be the hottest year on record. So these are certain predictions that are coming up, but for us this becomes important. What is El Nino? What is Super El Nino? How is it going to impact India? And why are we facing such extreme heat in the northern part of our country at the moment? So India has already become home to 19 of the world's 20 hottest cities. I already told you that. Now which part of India? It's mostly the northern and eastern part. So we see West Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, UP, etc. In fact, West Bengal's Medinipur district is at the first position. 1 to 19 in India only, in the northern and the eastern part, and then at 20th the streak is broken by a city in Nepal. So India is under extreme heat stress, and the main reason that is being said is the presence of a heat dome that has trapped hot air over the Indo-Gangetic plains and eastern India. So a heat dome has formed over the northern part of India. Now what is this heat dome? Let's first understand that. So the heat dome is like a lid. It's like a lid basically. It's a high pressure zone. Which has formed over the northern and eastern part of India, and this is trapping all the hot air. So because of heat, it's summers, because of heat, land is getting hot, evaporation is happening, and all this hot air is rising. Ideally, what should happen? This hot air should rise up, it should form clouds, and then rain should happen. Right? Rain should happen and the temperature should cool down. But now what is happening? First of all, this is all dry land that we are talking about. Not a lot of moisture is being picked. And then most importantly, a heat dome, a lid-like structure is present. A high pressure zone is present that is basically trapping all this hot air in this area only. It is not letting the hot air rise up and make clouds, form clouds, and reach back earth in the form of convectional rain. It is not allowing this hot air to do that. It is simply trapping it in this zone only. It's like hot air is going up, hitting the ceiling, and then coming back. No formation of clouds, no rain happening. This hot air is just being circulated within the within this heat dome itself, within this heat pressure itself. Now, why is this happening? Why do we see a high pressure zone over here or a heat dome? So for that, you will have to look at the local circulation as well as the global circulation of air as well. So we know that near the equator there is hot air, air rises up, and then it reaches up in the atmosphere, it starts descending down. Now India, the northern part of India, actually lies near the descending branch of the Hadley cell. There are these different types of cells for atmospheric circulation. So we lie near the descending branch of Hadley cell, which means we are near the cold air zone or the high pressure zone. So we have this heat dome. This heat dome is present. Now most of the times what happens, and something that is not happening now, is that we see the presence of a subtropical westerly jet stream over northern India, right? There is the presence of a subtropical westerly jet stream over northern India, and this brings western disturbances. Western disturbance. So cool air is coming in, clouds are formed, rain happens because of the western disturbance. But now what is happening is that this subtropical westerly jet stream, it has moved more up, like it has moved in the northern direction. It is now moving more towards the Central Asia, and it's bypassing India. So ideally it is present over northern India, over the plains of North India, but now it is moving further north, further up in the direction, and it is reaching the Central Asia. Now because of that, this is also disrupted. Because of that, we either are seeing an absolute absence of western disturbances or a weak western disturbance. And we do not see these cool winds coming in. We are not seeing the formation of clouds. We are not seeing rainfall happening. We are simply seeing this presence, this heat dome being intensified and becoming stronger. So this heat dome is actually becoming stronger because of the absence or because of the presence of very weak western disturbances. So this heat dome is present, it is very strong, it is very intense, and it is simply trapping all the hot air within this zone itself. So no rainfall is happening over here. There was already no moisture, it was all dry land, so rainfall is not happening, and then hot air is simply being trapped, it is being circulated. And that's why we see that the northern part of India and the eastern part of India is like the hottest region right now in the entire world. 19 of the 20 cities, hottest cities in India only, because of the presence of this heat dome. Now what is important for us is that how El Nino and Super El Nino is going to affect this. Will we get any relief, or will it further worsen the situation for us? So let's start by understanding El Nino. What is El Nino? So El Nino is actually a part of ENSO, El Nino Southern Oscillation. El Nino Southern Oscillation. Southern Oscillation, why? Because it's happening below the equator in the southern hemisphere. So we are talking about the South Pacific Ocean over here. And why oscillation? Because it's the to and fro movement, the back and forth of warm ocean currents. Based on the movement, we are deciding whether it is El Nino, whether it is La Nina, or it's a neutral phase. So ENSO, it has these three phases: the neutral phase, El Nino, and La Nina. And these have varying effects on our monsoon. So El Nino is the warming of ocean surface in the central and eastern tropical Pacific Ocean, and it is a part of El Nino or El Nino Southern Oscillation, or ENSO. So let's understand this with the help of a diagram. So here we are talking about the southern hemisphere below the equator, South Pacific Ocean. Okay. Now what happens? It's near the equator. So here we'll have what? We will have warm ocean current, warm oceanic current, warm water. Basically, we'll have warm water over here. Now, there is something else. There is a presence of trade winds. Near the tropics, there is a presence of trade winds, and these trade winds are going to move from east to west. From east to west. So let's take up the neutral phase of ENSO first. In neutral phase, what is going to happen? We have warm water over here because it is near the equator. We have warm water. Sea surface temperature is warm. Now during the neutral phase, this trade wind, because it is blowing from east to west, it will simply move the water, the warm water also along with it, from east to west, right? Under the effect of trade wind, this warm water will also move from east to west, from the Peruvian coast to the Australian coast to the Asian coast, right? So here we will see warm water moving, which means this will become warm, this part will become warm, and this part will become cold because of the upwelling of water. So we'll also find good fishing zones in that area, because upwelling of water is happening. Nutrients are going to be carried up to the sea surface. So we'll have a good fishing zone also. But in the neutral phase, we will see that here we'll have warm coast. The water is going to get warmer on this side, and it is going to get colder on this side. Now, when it is going to get warmer on this side, it simply means that warm air is going to rise up and reach to a level, form clouds, and conventional rainfall is going to happen. So we will see rainfall. We will see rainfall on the Australian and the Asian coast, and here we will not see rainfall. So this circulation that we are talking about, warm air reaching up, finally coming down, this is what? In the form of rain, this is the Walker circulation. Walker circulation, right? So during the neutral phase, this warm water is going to be carried from the east coast to the west coast under the effect of trade winds. And we will see rainfall in the Australian and the Asian coast. And here on the Peruvian coast, we will see cold sea surface temperature. It's all about the sea surface temperature. El Nino, La Nina, neutral phase, it's about the sea surface temperature. So here the SST is going to be high. Here it is going to be low, right? This is the neutral phase. Now let's move to the El Nino phase. El Nino. What is going to happen in the El Nino phase? El Nino phase also, warm water is there. Warm water is there, but the trade winds that we were talking about, these trade winds, they have become weak. The trade winds have become weak. Earlier, the warm water was moving from east to west under the influence of trade winds. But now the trade winds have become weak, which means that the warm water will not move towards the east direction. In fact, it will start moving towards this direction, towards the Peruvian coast. So in the El Nino phase, we will see that we have warm water or warm sea surface temperature near the Peruvian coast and cold sea surface temperature near the Australian and the Asian coast, the Indonesian coast and everything. And here we will see upwelling of water and a good fishing zone come up in this case. So what is happening? An oscillation, the movement changed. Earlier it was moving from this direction to this direction, and now it is moving from this direction to this direction. This is what? This is El Nino. In El Nino, we are seeing warm water move from the Australian coast, in fact from here itself, to the South American coast. We are seeing warm water come up to the Peruvian coast. Here we will see rainfall, here we will not see rainfall. This is El Nino. Now, what happens in La Nina? La Nina, our third phase. Now, when El Nino is happening, because we have cold sea surface temperature over here, rainfall is going to be affected. We will see rainfall here on the Peruvian coast. We will not see rainfall on the Australian and the East Asian coast. So our monsoon is going to get what? Intensified or weakened? Weakened, because here we are seeing cold water. Intensification of monsoon will not happen. This happens in El Nino. But in La Nina, the exact opposite will happen. How will it happen? It is all about the trade winds, okay. So in this case, we will see that the trade winds are going to intensify. The trade winds will intensify. Now, when the trade winds will intensify, this warm water that we were talking about, the warm sea surface, the warm oceanic current, this is actually going to move even more, like in an intense manner. It is going to move from this direction to this direction, from east to west. So it is going to move towards the Australian coast, it is going to move towards the Asian coast, and in this case our monsoon is also going to be positively impacted. Our monsoon will be intensified. Monsoon intensified in what? In La Nina. Indian monsoon will be intensified in La Nina, and it is going to be negatively impacted, or it will weaken in the phase of El Nino. So this is the entire ENSO cycle. I hope you were able to understand it. In El Nino, our monsoon will be negatively affected. In La Nina, it is going to be positively affected, because it is all about the sea surface temperature, and this is an oscillation. It's a rotating movement. Sometimes the trade winds will become weak, sometimes the trade winds will become strong. So this El Nino in fact repeats itself once in every 2 to 7 years, because it's a rotational process. It will keep on happening. So a El Nino and a super El Nino in fact is being predicted. Now what is this super El Nino? I told you it is all about the sea surface temperature. Based on the sea surface temperature, we are deciding whether it is El Nino, whether it is super El Nino. So super El Nino is not a separate climate classification. It's not a separate categorization. It simply means that El Nino has intensified. It is El Nino but in a stronger and a more intense format, meaning that the sea surface temperature that we were talking about, it was rising in El Nino also, but it is going to rise even more in super El Nino. So in El Nino, it was rising somewhere around 0.5 degrees Celsius from the average, plus 0.5 degrees Celsius was El Nino. In super El Nino, it has to be at least 2 degrees Celsius. Plus 2 degrees Celsius for a prolonged period of time, and that's when we will say that super El Nino is happening. But super El Nino is rare. It does not happen that much. In fact, it has happened only 4 times since 1950. So what is super El Nino? It emerges when a sea surface temperature soars at least 2 degrees Celsius above normal, right? 0.5 El Nino, 2 degrees and above, super El Nino. So it's not a separate classification, but it's simply an intensified format of El Nino. It is going to negatively impact our monsoon, right? It has occurred only 4 times since 1950. Last ones were 2015 and 2016. So it's a rare event. And notably, the temperature spiked over 2.5 degrees Celsius just once. So we are saying 2 degrees Celsius and above should be there, and the highest that we've seen right now is 2.5 degrees Celsius. That also happened just once. So it's a rare event, but predictions are there that this year is going to be a super El Nino year, which means that the monsoon is going to be negatively impacted, and for a prolonged period of time it will exist. So next year in fact is also predicted to be the hottest year on record. So this will have some impact on India, right? First impact, as we already saw, weaken India's monsoon, correct? Intense heat waves. We already are under the influence of heat waves because of the presence of a strong and intense heat dome. So that heat dome is going to be there and it will not find any relief because of monsoon also. So intense heat waves are going to be there. These intense heat waves are going to exist, and prolonged droughts could also be seen. When the heat waves are going to carry on for a longer duration of time, we can see droughts also, and if this keeps on continuing, the droughts can also prolong. So this is the entire El Nino, La Nina and super El Nino situation. I hope you were able to understand all these things. So it's not, we are not really going to see a lot of relief in the near future. If it is a super El Nino year, then there are going to be negative consequences of that on our agriculture also, on the health also. So these things are going to be there, but for us it becomes important that we are aware of what these terms mean and how are they going to impact Indian monsoon. Okay, so that was all for today's video. Now we look at a practice question for prelims. And before we do that, let me tell you that today is the last day of our Civil Services Day sale, where you are going to get up to 50% off all on online courses, pen drive courses and test series, and a flat 25% off on books, DLP and magazines. So this is valid only till today, 23rd of April. So you can call us at 87501, 87501, and you can also download the Drishti Learning app and enroll into your favorite course. Now let's move on to the question for the day. Consider the following statements. 1. El Nino refers to the warming of sea surface temperatures in the central and eastern Pacific Ocean near the equator. 2. A super El Nino is formally defined category of El Nino events based on international climate classification. 3. El Nino conditions are often associated with higher global temperatures and heat extremes in several regions, including India. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? A. 1 and 3 only, B. 2 only, C. 2 only, or D. 1, 2 and 3. Please attempt this question and provide your answers in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and we will meet in a new video.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.